Welcome back to the Silo Podcast. I'm here with Devin, who has been shooting this whole podcast with me for the last few months now. We have him on the pod this time. We're going to get to know him a little bit more and then also talk about what it's like to work with Silo, because as a person that is interested in other production companies or what video producers do, I think there's something to figuring out the processes and people behind what goes on.
Yeah.
And maybe it's too early in Silo's trajectory to do that, but we're going to do it just because we want to.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I want to talk about how I got involved in Silo, how it's influenced my career as a creative, as a photographer, as a freelancer.
Yeah, we got to know your a little bit of your backstory before we get into. I think there's a lot of backstory before we get into
how you touch Silo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my backstory. Yeah, that's a great question. My backstory in terms of being a creative, I have a communication degree from Penn State. I think, did I minor? Yeah, I minored in media production.
Oh, shoot, he's got a minor too.
It was actually, I added a minor so last minute because I was just like,
you did all the classes for
it?
One
day I was scrolling through a list of minors and I found the media production minor and I'd already taken 5 of the 6 classes for it.
Yeah.
The last class was Film 101 where you just watch movies. So I was like, that's a no-brainer. I'm picking up a minor super last minute.
Dude, yeah. I almost had a geography minor because I just took all the geography classes for funsies.
Yeah. It just ended up being random, but also ended up tying into my career anyway. So, which ended up being cool. So, so my background is in that. I worked right out of college as a photographer shooting yearbook portraits just here and there until I found a job in digital and website marketing that I was doing for a little while. So super enjoyed that industry, even though it's a little bit of a grind. I think
I can imagine.
Definitely in a future episode we talk about burnout a little bit. And I definitely felt the burnout in that industry. Anyone else that works in marketing, I think, could probably resonate with that.
It's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah. But yeah, and then this past summer, right now we're shooting this in October of 2024, and this past summer, July or so, I just went full-time freelance and have just been doing it with my camera ever since. Photo, video, honestly, anything that comes to me that I feel like I can do at least a reasonably good job, I've been saying yes to. So
what projects within your past really actually brought interest into your life or passion? What were you actually driven to do versus what you were just doing because you were forced to?
Yeah. Just kind of even backing up even further, before I even got to Penn State, right out of college right out of high school, I went to community college for a little bit. Just took some gen eds, so I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I ended up leaving that for a little while because I really didn't know what I wanted to do and kind of hated school. So I just kind of worked a couple odd jobs. I worked a restaurant job all throughout high school and college, on and off for a good number of years. I worked at a rock climbing gym because it was at the community center near my house. It was a ton of fun doing probably honestly one of the more fun jobs I've ever had. That actually led me to a really cool job. I worked at a summer camp that I grew up going to. I found my way into that job through just being into rock climbing and that sort of stuff. So just a lot of random stuff like that. And then I was like, I should eventually go back to school instead of just doing all this random stuff and figure out what I wanted to do. So I went back to community college, had a great communications 101 professor, and just kind of learned about the world of comm, whether that's journalism, photography, graphic design, PR, marketing, all of that stuff that's under the communications umbrella. So I did a little bit of that at community college, and I was like, okay, I think a comm major might be the thing for me to do. So started looking at different schools. I found a home right in my backyard at Penn State Harrisburg, met with some awesome faculty and professors, and checked out what we had going on at campus. If anyone's ever been to Penn State Harrisburg, the comm program exists in the basement of the Olmsted building. So once I got there, I was like, oh man, I'm not going to see the sun for the next 10 hours today. But it was totally worth it. There's tons of amazing faculty and amazing people there that really helped me kind of figure out that something in communications was going to be what I ended up doing, whether that be marketing, advertising, designing, photographing, that sort of stuff.
Did you feel like you had a proficiency in photo and video a little bit more than all that other stuff? Like, were you drawn to that over others?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So a lot of the reason I went to Penn State Harrisburg for communications was just the broadness of everything. Because again, like when I first got out of high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And even once I kind of figured out that I wanted to do something in the comm world, I still didn't know what exactly. So
Yeah.
through getting a comm degree at Penn State Harrisburg, I took journalism, I took media criticism, I took media law, I took film, I took photography, I took graphic design, like the list goes on, and touched like all the little bits and pieces of it, figured out what I liked, what I didn't like. I liked journalism, but I'm an awful writer. I liked photography. I kind of got my hands on a camera on like a DSLR for the first time, kind of figured that out a little bit. I studied with an awesome graphic design professor. Shout out to Craig Welsh at Go Welsh Studios. Man, it's been a while since I've talked to him, probably since college, but he's I think he's still out there doing his thing. I should probably reach out. But yeah, I kind of felt myself steering more towards the more creative aspects of communications. So photography, graphic design, that sort of stuff is kind of what I felt like I was geared towards. And then going back, I think you asked a couple minutes ago, any like specific projects or anything that I had done that kind of helped out with that. When I was at Penn State Harrisburg, I ended up becoming the art director for Inked, which was I don't know if we've even talked about this before. Just
tell me more.
Conversation. Yeah, we produced, this was post-pandemic, so we weren't doing print news anymore, but it was like a digital campus-wide news magazine. I wouldn't even call it like a newspaper. It was like a little bit more like casual feel, kind of almost like a magazine. And we produced it digitally. Every month there was a team of us. There was, like your usual like newspaper staff. There's writers, there's photographers, you got editors, all that good stuff. And then I held the title of art director, where I was in everything, did everything in Adobe InDesign, and was doing like layout of everything, just taking all the stories, all the photos, all the other bits and pieces in between, and compiling it into this like student news magazine that we distributed straight to the inboxes of every single student at Penn State Harrisburg.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, it was honestly, it's one of those things, like once you go digital, it's kind of hard to keep track of how many eyes get on those things.
Yeah.
It's like if it was a print newspaper, it's like, oh well, we put 100 in the box and there's 5 left, so we at least 95 people saw this.
Right.
But it was maybe got some good eyes on it. I know we got some pretty good feedback over the 8 issues I produced over 2 semesters. So yeah,
That's really cool.
We had like a pretty good cycle going. Just like every 4 weeks we had a new issue out with lots of stuff going for it. Yeah, I'll have to dig some of those up and show you.
Dude, you have to.
That was one of my first like, I feel like larger scale creative projects.
That's a title, art director.
Yeah. No, I feel like it's just like such a dramatic title. Like I just like kind of built the template in InDesign and just started kind of dragging and dropping photos.
Still though, you're in InDesign.
That doesn't mean it didn't take me so many hours every 4th week of the production cycle.
Exactly.
But
where does that land you like in the last year or so when we've gotten connected? Yo, enjoying this episode? Please consider subscribing on YouTube or leaving a 5-star rating on Spotify or wherever you're getting your podcast. It really does help push out to more people, and we need more eyes on these amazing creatives that we are highlighting in this season of the Silo podcast. So if you wouldn't mind, leave a 5-star review on those platforms and a comment down below. Now let's get back into the episode.
So I ended up landing a job working for a small digital marketing company, did some stuff like that for a while, and then I, at the same time, kind of still exercised this passion for photography that I found in college. In college, we had like a great gear studio, or a gear closet, basically, to be able to sign stuff out. And I learned how to shoot on like a Nikon D50-100 or something. I don't know. I'm not like familiar with like Nikon products, so I think that's what we had. Yeah. I don't know. I'm a Canon guy now, so. But that's kind of what I learned how to shoot on. And then I finished college and it's like, oh man, I don't really have access to a camera anymore. But I still want to keep kind of pursuing this, like messing around with this on the side. So I had been like borrowing gear from people here and there and kind of figuring some stuff out. And then I ended up eventually investing in some of my own gear, and that just kind of became the side hustle outside of my marketing gig.
Yeah.
And then right around the time I got my own gear and kind of started building up a side hustle was when I kind of ran into Silo. So,
what was your first impression? Oh, this feed is all black and white. It's crazy. What's it all about? These guys just run around doing things and don't make no sense.
And I'm trying to think about this too, because I don't even remember what my first impression would have been. I think I probably just saw you and Gavin doing your thing on Instagram and just kind of ran into it. And I had started, I think around the same time, I had my dad gave me like an old film camera, like a 35 millimeter. It's a Canon AU1. And I started like kind of messing around with film, and I didn't really know anything about it. I was kind of messing around, but I made like a photography Instagram just to post film photos and just kind of experiment with it, and just kind of as like a creative outlet. And then from there, I kind of started following more creative accounts and stumbled upon Silo, and I was like, what even is this? What's going on? But I ended up, I don't know if I talked to you or talked to somebody else, but right around that time, Silo was having this awesome styled photo shoot event, and I had just gotten my first like real camera. So I was like, okay, I'll go to this thing, make connections, see what it's all about. I think I'd talk to you digitally a little bit leading up to that.
Yeah, we've connected like a handful of times digitally, and then like luckily that lined up with your schedule to actually come to Where the Wild Things Grow in like the fall of 23.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, fall of 2023. I think I'd probably caught on to what Silo was like over the summer, but I was like busy during summer capture. During that event, so I wasn't able to make it to that event. But you guys hosted this like awesome styled photo shoot in the fall of 2023 called Where the Wild Things Grow, and it was like there was, I don't know, probably about like 15, 20 photographers show out, and there were like 2 or 3 professional models with these like very like uniquely curated sets on this gorgeous flower farm in Lancaster County. And
I've never been to Quarryville before, but we went to Quarryville for that.
I was like, and like I live in Harrisburg, so I like signed up for this thing, and then you sent out. Yeah, it was like an hour away. I was like, what is this?
We're just in the middle of nowhere.
Which like, and now as a freelancer, like I'm like, oh, my gig's only an hour away today, so that's a score.
Yes, exactly. Making things easy.
But yeah, so I just like showed up to the Silo thing, a ton of people who I had maybe seen around on Instagram, but I've never met before, and just started making connections and figuring things out and learning how to use my new camera and a lot of things like that. And
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was super fun. It was like such an educational experience, and like just the experience of going and making those connections are connections I still hold to this day. Even like just like last week, I forget his last name, Matt.
Natural Fidelity
LLC. Yeah, that's his handle. His handle on Instagram is like Natural
Rodriguez.
Fidelity Media. Yeah, Matt Rodriguez. I met him at that first Silo thing I went to, and he just reached out a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, dude, we should collab on something. I'm like, absolutely. Once wedding season dies down, we should absolutely collab on something. He's been killing
it with like this gym content that he's been putting out. It's kind of cool.
Good. It's so good. All the stuff he puts out is super sharp. I love seeing it.
And like the funny thing about that event is that like I legit actually have never met any of those people. Like they weren't a ton of Silo community members. Maybe like a quarter of them were, but like I met you for the first time, Matt, like tons of these like random people that like actually wanted to pay, which was the first time we actually had a paid like styled shoot at Where the Wild Things Grow. Yeah. One, because we had to pay the models and the location, but
definitely want to make that clear that like most of the Silo events are free. You should come out for a good time to network and have fun and shoot photos for free. This one was just paid because it was just a little bit more, I guess, higher end. Like people, like basically like we just had to pay for all the props that we were shooting with and pay the models for their time.
And it was interesting.
Some more professional vibes out of it.
It was interesting in my head because like I would thought the Silo community would be like, not step up, but like would be like, yeah, now we've got all this stuff for free. I want to pay for this. But in fact, we got a separate audience that like has the need or want to pay for things. I don't know. I'm not saying that these people are two different parties, but the fact that I've never met these people that actually wanted to pay for things, it was an interesting experience. I don't care. I don't value differently if you want to pay for things or don't pay for things as a community member. I'm just saying, like, I know who Silo people are, and these people were different because they they were wanting to invest in themselves in that moment and were willing to pay that. And I don't know. I'm probably not explaining that well. Exactly. But it was just interesting that, like,
no, and I think what you're trying to say,
go ahead,
if you've been to a capture before, like, you'll know this. Like, I capture, like, it's just a bunch of people and we just show up and take over a space and have a good time and things kind of work themselves out. And it's always like the results are always like absolutely incredible, but they just kind of like happen naturally. Where I feel like this was like Where the Wild Things Grow was a more framed more as a pre-planned professional networking event, where it's like you're coming in and we've hired these professional models to make sure that we're going to be able to get some like good images, and we're buying props to build these like very specifically curated sets and that sort of thing, which is like, it was awesome. I think that there's definitely room for us to do some more of that in the future.
For sure.
But it was just a different vibe from the free captures, where it's like literally free in the sense that it doesn't cost anything, and free in the sense that it's a free for all. People are showing up and making connections on their own and meeting people, and people are there like, hey, I've never modeled before, but I want to be on camera. Or, hey, I just got this camera, I want to shoot some models and figure it out. Or I want to just make a connection and hopefully get some work from other photographers and stuff like that.
You nailed it. Yeah. I think it was in the marketing of it that drew the crowd that was brought. You're totally right.
Yeah, I definitely a different crowd that usually show up to like the free captures and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was interesting. And also it was a great time for us to actually meet for the first time in person.
100%. Yeah.
And in that way, it was a smaller crowd, which led to more intense conversation amongst the few people that were actually there. And we got to actually know each other more.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like I made some like really cool connections with people who I've like never met before, or like I didn't know they were coming, or I've seen like, it's like, oh, I've seen your work on Instagram, or like, hey, let me look at your Instagram right now. Like, what do you usually shoot and stuff like that? And we just making those connections. It was the first super solid to this especially for me as a start of a photography career. Yeah. Just trying to make those connections and do a little bit of networking and stuff. So
for sure. It was the first time that we met Chelsea. And she's been around for almost every capture since then. Yeah. It was just crazy. And like, what did it take to get her there? It took a more of a styled studio or a styled shoot approach, because that's what she was used to in the past. And now she's a part of this community where she does stuff for free. And collaborates with a ton of people. She's crazy. She's awesome. Yeah. Like, just the amount of stuff that she outputs modeling wise, and she has her own camera. Yeah. So cool. I'm so glad we got to meet her for the first time there too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like it was like this like crazy super formal thing. It still had all the same vibes that you know and love from all the other captures. It was just like a little bit of a smaller crowd and like specific models, and it was even like, and Michaela was just there to design sets, and she ended up doing modeling herself because she's just that good.
She's so cool. She's so cool. I love talking to her, especially as like she's continuing to build out. What does it look like to both be like a full service model as well as like a creative director at the same time? And I think that kind of budded her career in doing both, in creating curated things around almost herself in a non self-centered way of like, some photographers just want to shoot a pretty girl in a pretty set. Yeah. And I'm not going to make a statement about that, but if you're the photographer that like, I don't want to do anything other than take amazing images, she can so easily put together something so amazing, like out of nothing. Yeah. And she just has the vision that no one else does for that kind of stuff. So I knew I had to have her and Sam on for that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
exactly. But yeah, it was, and it's not even just like making these connections professionally. Is like, I feel like I made a lot of friends that day. Like when I showed up, just like people with like similar interests and like other people who are like trying to do their thing with their camera. It's like, not only am I like learning with them and connecting in a professional way, it's like I mean, I've like said, that was the first time we met in person, and you've definitely become a close friend to me in the past, like
for sure,
13, 14 months
well.
since that thing happened. So
yeah, I mean, you've been at a few captures here. I think the capture experience, I mean, as you kind of mentioned a little bit now, is a huge part of what brings people together, is that it is free flowing enough that like we can have a conversation and not have me like, oh, I have to go set up this set in the meantime. And I think that makes a huge difference on like the capture moments and what you've shot now and how you've been able to like bolster your portfolio since that first time we met into something now that actually focuses, and you've gotten photos of couples in from these captures with low stakes, so that when you have a high stakes scenario of someone booking you, you're able to deliver above and beyond.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like Silo is like a great place to make friends with similar interests, but it's also a great place to put in reps with absolutely no pressure. You can just show up to one of these things immediately. Austin is going to greet you with a giant smile and bright, beautiful eyes. And
wow, I'm blushing for those audio listeners.
But no, and then like you'll just meet awesome people and get some tips and tricks and like come away from it with amazing images and just like a newfound confidence on how to do the thing a little bit better for your next serious gig where you have a paying client and you need to deliver for them.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it, of just, it's a sandbox, have fun, play with it. It is what you put into it though, you know? So if you come in with aspirations and a plan, you will get more out of it, both in terms of output, then also probably friends as well. If you were to like, yo, I'm going to go into this, I want these shots because I know what the theme is. But explain to those who have never been to a Silo experience, what like a capture looks like for the first time, because a lot of people are nervous on like the front end. Like, I don't know what to expect. There might be 100 people here. Austin is saying, how can I navigate such a weird experience that, I imagine everyone knows each other already.
Yeah.
And that might be a real doubt you have in your head.
Definitely. That can definitely be intimidating to some people, especially if you're not like the extroverted type to want to put yourself out there. I will definitely say that, like I just said a couple of minutes ago, not only is there professional connections that I've made at these things, but also a ton of friendships, just because I think what Silo is at its core is a community of creatives, but like emphasis on the community.
This episode is sponsored by Rook Photography. It's 2025. Maybe you made a resolution for yourself this year that you're only going to speak positively about yourself and your body this year. Maybe you're working to improve that in this year. Well, what better way to showcase what you are committing to yourself this year than to be a part of one of her shoots? Sam does a lot of portraiture, but specializes in boudoir photography, where she has over 400 pieces in her client closet that fit all body types and all confidence levels. I think one of the coolest things that she offers is just how positive and radiant she is during these sessions, and you will not leave feeling doubtful of yourself. So if you're interested in a little bit more self-love this year, consider booking with Sam. She will not let you down, and she has so many different options in pricing as well as specials that happen throughout the year. So if you're listening to this and it's the end of 2025, it is still a perfect time to get photos taken of yourself because you deserve it. Now back to the video.
My first thought when I show up to a capture is, who have I not seen before, and who do I want to go make an introduction with and make sure that they feel welcomed into this community into this space. So that's like my first priority. And I know I can speak for a couple other people who've been to a couple of these things before, that's also their first priority. I think Austin's first priority as well is just making sure we start meeting people, welcoming them in, like, hey, what's your name? How'd you find out about us? What camera are you shooting on? Or are you here to model? Like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what you want to get done today.
Dude, you want to know who's a really good person at that? Who like is a sleeper that I'd never, like, I didn't think would do this, but turns out does. And I just found out about it. And she's been doing it for a while, is Alyssa, the model.
Yeah.
No idea how big of an advocate she was for like meeting new people and like putting the models that she meets on a good trajectory, but she is
I totally believe that. I don't know if I saw it last capture because I think her and Devin showed up late. They were like getting there as I was leaving because I had to leave early. But yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. She is such like an incredible like ball of friendly energy.
Yeah,
and is like and she's always showing up in like the most incredible outfits.
That's the thing.
I'm like, and that's one of those things too. Like she models like I feel like at a professional level at this point. She's showing up in these outfits. It's like this girl is intimidating. And it's like, no way. As soon as you talk to her, the energy that comes through is like the kindest, most amazing energy I've ever felt from anyone in my life.
For real though, I'm so surprised that like, she's at such a professional level. She just knows what she's doing. The confidence is there. Everything is there. And you're like, I never talked to her because like, whoa, she's on another level. She's probably got like a posse of people following her around. And then she'll come up to you.
Yeah, no, exactly. I need to tell this amazing Alyssa story real quick. This doesn't even have to do anything with Silo, but it just like speaks
hype her up.
Yeah, it just speaks to the human that she is. I have a dear friend that I met a couple months ago. Her name's Grace, and we met and exchanged Instagrams, and Alyssa was following her. I was like, no way. How do you know Alyssa? I know her through like this photography thing that I do. And she was like, oh, I met her last summer. I was at Pride in downtown Harrisburg, and Alyssa just came right up to me out of the blue and said, hey, I really love your dress. Where'd you get it? And we just hit it off and had a great conversation, just like completely out of the blue. And I was like, that totally checks out. Alyssa is just that amazing, like welcoming energy that can just go up to a stranger and immediately like make a friend. So that just like that story made me so happy because I'm like, that's so her to a T. And
right. And that's what we want for like everyone at Silo is just to, and I love that you bring that energy of like, who can I meet that's new here for the first time? Like that's not even an energy that I had when I like originally started, or just as a human being in like a new space. Like I would not just try to like meet someone new. It's just not in my nature. So to hear that there are people that want to do that is really encouraging. Yeah,
100%. Like if I'm like, when I get to a Silo thing, someone's just kind of standing around minding their own business. It's like, they look like they want to be here because they showed up. So like I want to make sure they feel welcome and like, let me make a friend real quick and we'll get you in here and kind of get things going. Cause it's like, I mean, any situation that you're in for the first time might feel a little awkward at first. So, but
do you feel like there's like a nervous energy before like I get up and start like sending people out?
I think
like
so.
That like mingling energy.
And I think that's like anything you've ever gone to, like there's going to be like, whether you've gone to like an event or anything, or like you show up, it's like your first day at a new job and stuff like that. You don't know anyone yet, and it's like this nervous energy. And then like by the end of your shift, it's like, okay, I kind of have found some people that I can kind of interact with, and I feel like that's how it is at these like capture events. It's like you kind of show up and like I'm always meeting new people that are there for the first time, or maybe I saw them last time but didn't get a chance to talk to them and stuff like that. Or maybe I've seen them on Instagram and I'm like, hey, I love your work. I just wanted to introduce myself, make myself known to you, make a friend and that sort of thing. And there's always like a little bit of awkwardness at first, and we'll just push past that because everyone there is super friendly, and it immediately dies away. And then next thing you know, we've been taking photos and networking and just having a good time for 3 hours, and it's like, oh man, it's time to leave, but like I'm having fun with my friends now, I don't want to leave.
So I think it's like, it's good. It's similar to like a good date. You're able to like, in my opinion, a good date is like being able to take part of an experience together. And so it's not awkwardly us having dinner, like asking questions about each other. I think we get at a capture, you might have that for the first half hour while everyone's still meeting, but then you're like, okay, I'm past this like weird small talk phase, or maybe you're past that, but like we're able to go out and then do something together that act is like taking photos of models, or me taking photos of you, or whatever that is. And so like a good date is like, we have something to talk about. You know, it's and it's not just about me. It's not just about you. Like we're going like zip lining. Oh, I had a really good time zip lining. Do you have fun partaking in this activity together? And I think that's, I don't know, that just came to me. I was like, oh, Silo's a good date. You can like talk about something together.
Yeah, dude. Actually, that's my plan for winter capture. I'm gonna bring a first date to winter capture.
Yo, you should. That's what I'm saying though. It's gonna be great because it's something to talk about, and especially this winter capture that's coming up, but has already happened for you guys. is that it is like more of a family experience.
Yeah.
Not family, but like just in general.
This episode's coming out after Winter Capture?
Yeah.
Okay. Winter Capture was great.
This episode is sponsored by the Silo Discord. So you made it to an event, you met some friends, you got some amazing images out of it, but now you have to wait until the next one to hang out with some of your favorite people. It's not the case. Join the Discord. This is a great way to get connected with all of your friends. My favorite part has to be sitting in the voice channels while I'm editing, having people join in, ask what I'm working on, asking how their day is going, or just talking about some of the struggles we're facing. Really just builds a deeper bond with a lot of these community members. With that comes different channels to talk about gear, poetry, memes, food, anything in between. Image critique where we can come together and give positive feedback on images, making all of our skills sharper. So if you're not already a part, click the link in the description and join the Discord. It's an amazing spot to be. What would you say to that person that is just coming for the first time? How do you break that ice with the people at the very beginning when you're walking up and you see a pavilion or you see a group of 60 people and you're just like, okay, are we shooting photos or are we just waiting here? How do you as a new person break that ice? Because obviously you don't want to just wait for someone to speak to you. Yeah. Like that might be even more awkward.
Yeah, 100%. If you're showing up to a capture for the first time, I think we usually meet a little bit before golden hour hits usually, at least while we're in daylight savings. Yeah, that's what we're in right now, right?
Yeah.
Whenever the sun's going down late, the sun sets at 7:30. We'll usually get there like 6 or something. So, but the first half hour, we're just kind of like mingling, like waiting to start, waiting for everyone to get there and that sort of thing. So if you're just like walking up for the very first time to a group of people, I would say look for somebody else that looks like they're not in the middle of a conversation and just say hi, which I know is like big for some people to do who aren't very extroverted, but all it takes is just saying hi to somebody and they'll point you exactly in the right direction you need to go. Or like hopefully when you first get there, you can spot this man right here. You can pick out.
You probably seen me on Instagram. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, exactly. If you're at a Silo event, you probably found Silo on Instagram, and if you found Silo on Instagram, you've seen Austin's face before.
Whether you like it or not.
It's
forced.
At the very least, you can find Austin and he'll hook you up with everything you need to know. So that's what the beginning of an event usually looks like. Is we're just showing up and just yapping for a while.
We're sure yapping.
Making connections.
No doubt.
Making new connections, fostering old connections, catching up with people we haven't seen since the last capture or maybe before that.
It's a big family reunion.
And then, yeah, exactly. And that is what it feels like, honestly. Like this community definitely has that familial aspect to it, which I super appreciate. But then when it's time to get started, Austin will get up on a table or a ladder or something and he'll do some yapping at us.
Find the highest point wherever we are.
And I feel like he always goes like youth pastor mode. Like he always has something a little bit too inspirational to say. But no, and then we just kind of get set loose. Like we do these either in like a downtown or at like a public park or something like that. And it's as easy as like I show up with my camera. So I usually walk up to somebody who's not holding a camera because I'm like, hey, if you don't have a camera with you, you probably want to be on camera. Mm-hmm. So, or sometimes I'll talk to some people who want to be on camera before I get there and I'll meet up with them, or I'll find somebody who I haven't met before and maybe they have a camera and I'll be like, hey, what are you shooting on? Like, let's like exchange some tips and tricks. Let's shoot something together. So,
right.
And then we just, from there, it just kind of the night just naturally kind of starts running its course and people just start strengthening connections, kind of bouncing ideas off of each other, capturing some good images or good video or learning how to pose and model well.
Yeah.
And whatever else we do.
When whatever happens, you get the photos at the end of the night. Yeah.
And if you're really lucky,
hey, yo,
Austin will bombard you with a camera and interview you against your own will. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
you can cut that if you need to.
I chase people down. Only the people that look willing or the people that I know enough that I can annoy.
Only regulars, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get discouraged by coming thinking that Austin's going to chase you down for some behind the scenes content.
No, if you're shy, I
only,
promise.
Only myself or Alyssa or I don't even know who else are the only people unlucky enough to get hit by that.
It's only when I know I can pick on you that I will go for you. And that comes with either us hitting it off or you being at a few events and I know enough about your work.
Yeah.
So
dude, actually, you know what I just thought of a couple minutes ago? I was like, because you're wearing white Nike socks and I'm wearing white Nike socks.
Hey, yo.
And now talking about the interview, the last capture when you interviewed me, that is exactly what I brought up. I looked at your socks. I was like, bro, we're wearing matching socks.
Dude, we're twinsies. I don't know what to tell you. I need to edit a lot more of those from this last summer capture. I've only edited one and I posted it already. Yeah. I need to get on that. But yeah, so now here you are. You've done a few captures. You've been at a few different events. You've seen the flavor of what we're about, what the community is about. And now you're helping me produce this podcast like months later. Well, I guess almost a year, basically a year since you first made your appearance here at Silo. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really special moment that I am blessed enough to be able to call on the community to help produce stuff for other community members. And I know that this podcast will be a really good resource for people that are new to Silo and creativity and stuff like that. And that's why we're doing this thing and investing so much time. And I mean, we've recorded this entire season. It has to have been like, we've probably spent 20 plus hours together at least.
Probably, yeah. Every time we come in here to shoot a podcast, it's like, okay, we're going to shoot like an episode, aim for it to be 45 minutes long. And next thing you know, there's been 2 hours of content put on film. So
right. And I had to save the best for last because this is the last interviews that we're doing before the season comes out. So I'm getting to hear it from the man himself, what it like looks like to sit down and work with me for like 20 something hours. I think I'm interested in like production companies or groups of people and how they actually output their content. I say lemons. And so I've always had a fascination with like their behind the scenes of what it looks like to actually put this stuff on. And so now I want to turn this on its head and not have a gun off frame pointed at your head, but actually bring the gun a little bit closer to it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what is it like? What was it like doing this season with me? Cause like, honestly, I've never had someone stick with me this long through like actually producing something of this depth, quantity, length together.
Yeah. No,
and you don't have to be nice.
No, I will be nice. I have nothing but nice things to say. It's been a blast just helping work this out. Like if you're seeing this, you've probably seen an episode or two before of what we've been cooking up this season. So you had a super amazing arsenal of guests coming on, whether they're photographers, actors, designers, models. We just have like so many. Anything creative has a place on this podcast and in Silo, and it's just been really amazing to hear so many different perspectives of that sort of thing. So yeah, and then on the other side of that, like, I mean, I've been doing photo video work for a while now, so I think that's how you invited me here, is because I know how to work a camera. I was
gonna say you've done podcast producing and set up like live switching and stuff like that, which we don't have, but like that stuff it's what's needed for this like 3 camera kind of setup, which is
exactly. I mean, we've just been showing up. We're like super blessed to have use of the studio at Sarah B. Shout out to Sarah and all the amazing use of her incredible space. So I feel like it was a little weird at first. It's like, oh, we're gonna shoot this podcast in a boudoir studio. It's like it's a little. There's a bed right over there. Yeah, I was like, let's not have the bed in the shot.
We're shooting that way. No, but I think I mean, the usage of the space is a huge plus, and I knew that as a part of making this season even better than the last is continuing to level up like the location, and I know that we're doing a lot in this space and it's natural light. And I mean, there's just a lot of like load in, load out time, and it was heavy bags. When we started this season, it was 90 degrees out, like end of summer.
Oh my gosh, dude. The first 2 episodes we shot, it was like during the heat wave in July or something like that. And we were in here and like you can see all the natural light coming into this space. This building is probably 300 years old. These windows are not insulated and the air conditioner
did not work
broken.
the first time. Yeah.
It was definitely like 85, 90 degrees internal in here by the time we were done shooting.
You'll see
that day.
I'll leave it up to you guys to see which episode I was sweating.
Yeah. Go find another episode of this season and just see Austin drenched.
Cause I was,
I was drenched too on the other side, trying to get my behind the scenes content without my computer overheating.
Yes.
In this room.
It was great. And now here we are where I had 2 layers on for the episode before this.
Yeah, it was chilly in here this morning.
And so
I walked in here this morning. I was like, why did we start this in the summer?
Honestly, listen, next time we will not be shooting in the summer because that was a mistake. That's something I learn every time. But now, so we got to a point or we started at a point where it took an hour 15 maybe to set up, maybe even an hour and a half. Just because I think at least the first time I didn't know what I wanted. This was like a blank canvas. We didn't know
trial and error. We're going to figure it out as we go.
Right. I didn't know that I wanted this couch out and like a table over here and I'm sitting in a chair. So that took a while. But then once we got it in and we started dialing in the production of this, we were able to do this in 30 minutes, 25 minutes, probably 20 minutes.
Yeah, probably 20 minutes. I mean, the main thing, I don't know how much you can see in the wide shot. We got like a big fill light. We got the natural light behind us. We have camera here. We have a camera there. We have a third camera on the other guest. So
it's a lot. And so it was a lot. Like at the same time, it's a lot. It's not a lot. Like it's weird that I think the lighting makes a difference, right? Mm-hmm. We don't have like a hair light on us because we have natural light and just like a fill.
Yeah.
I think if we were
even
to
with the sun moving, like you're probably overexposed right now.
I'm very overexposed. I am drenched in exposure right now, but we're going to hope that it goes away and that's totally fine.
Yeah, the sun keeps moving. We should be good.
Exactly. And that's something that I also learned through all this is that like probably we'll do a studio next time that doesn't have natural light. And that means there's a lot more setup with like actual lighting, which is why this lean setup actually was so nice to set up because we weren't having 4 different light stands or whatever on the set. But I know the same amount of time that it would have taken every episode to set up lights is the same amount of time that I will now spend in post color grading this separately for when the light goes behind a cloud and now is sunny and all this stuff. So that's a lesson learned. But honestly, this whole season was just about like trying to perfect something that would be a portfolio piece for both me, you, and whoever else works on this. Just to show like the most effort put into a project that is multiple hours long. I think for me that, and we've talked about a lot on this podcast, and if not in future episodes that you're listening to, will be about like, yo, if you're not creating something for someone else right now, create something for yourself. And this was definitely an opportunity for me to create something for myself, both in, hey, I have the confidence now to do this and competence to pull this off, but then able to pitch this to other people as projects that can happen in the future. That'll benefit me and then in turn benefit Silo.
Exactly. And beyond that, I think every single episode of this podcast is going to be a resource to somebody out there. Whether you're listening to the episode with Pete Rodriguez of Pete Design Co. because you're a graphic designer that wants to take it to the next level, or you're listening to, I don't know, who else did we have? Emil has a great episode talking about
Kelly.
Yeah,
there's a whole host of people. There's so many, like the diversity of this is like
we
the
had
best
so
thing
many
ever.
people I can't even think of them right now. Like
For
it's
real.
just like
This
things
is
have
like
been crazy.
16 episodes or something like that is what this total is going to be between the different guests that we have on. It's like 8 or 10 of them. We recorded, this is our second here between the two of us, as well as a few episodes of me and Gavin talking. So you'll get a good bunch of everyone, which is sick. I'm so excited that the diversity is there, because I think last season I focused a lot about like photographers, and that's not everyone. I know that those are the people that I'm friends with and able to speak on, but there's so many other people in the creative spaces. So I don't know. I'm excited for this season. But I think another aspect of what makes you so perfect for this is that you were able to just like learn on the go, and like it's a process of learning, and it always will be a process of learning. And I saw how open you were to like just do it and figure it out along the way, even though I probably gave you a very like broad understanding of what I wanted you to help with. I was probably just like, hey, you want to help on the podcast? You kind of just need to like help set up lights, check the cameras, and then during the conversation, hang out. Yeah. And I know, and I understood that this was like a long, like a hard ask of just like, can you sit in the space for me and me have a conversation with someone else while you might do nothing other than check a camera every 5 minutes. But you really like stepped up to the plate. Not that it was a hard plate to do, to check cameras, but like your knowledge. And then also, like I keep telling everyone this, is that you go above and beyond once you're here. And like, let me just like add this to your resume real quick of just like, bro, you showed up, you like outdid yourself every time you did. The behind the scenes photo and video, like more than ever I could have ever asked for. And that allowed me to have like separate like thumbnails for photos or for the podcast and YouTube videos, which is a huge plus to have like actual photo assets of what we're doing on the podcast. So many other things you went above and beyond on. You like, we had a problem with these arms, and I remember you like went down to the
maintenance people of this building helped me, just hooked us up with some tools because we were having some gear malfunctions.
Yeah, these Allen wrench holes were not working. So again, you've been above and beyond on this, and this is not a capstone of our relationship, obviously, but it feels like a kind of a closure to one season of the literal podcast, but then also of like us spending 20 or 30 hours together over the course of like 2 or 3 months. Yeah. So really appreciate you.
Yeah, of course, man. Happy to help Silo. Happy to, if doing any of this work on the podcast or anything like that gets even one more person involved in Silo that wasn't before, then that's totally worth it.
Appreciate you, man. All right. Well, that's been the podcast kind of discussing the behind the scenes of what Silo does when they work with people, and also a conversation about like captures and how to be involved, but more importantly, getting to know a very pivotal person that helped with the season of the podcast. So I hope you guys stuck around. If you did, leave an angel emoji. I think I want an angel emoji for them. Do you have an emoji that you would want to put next to the angel emoji for them?
I like one of my favorite emojis is the guy in the cowboy hat.
Yes.
We can go with that one.
So cowboy angel?
I don't know if that goes with the angel emoji or not.
That's all it needs to.
I like him. He's just down there doing his thing. So
he's this is not his first rodeo, let me tell you.
Yeah, for real.
All right.
Yeah, I'll say one more thing.
Go for it, dude.
Come to a Silo event. I am lucky enough that I now work full time as a freelance photographer, and had I not shown up to my first Silo event, I don't think that I would be doing that now a year later. So if that's something you're looking for, or if you're just looking to have fun with a camera or make a friend without a camera, anything like that, show up, and I think you'll be glad you did.